Why do we get stuck in mental loops even when we know they are destructive? Ever been trapped in an unhealthy thought pattern? You know it doesn't serve you, it makes you feel awful, it takes you down a rabbit hole full of hurt and despair. Sounds familiar, right? That's because all of us do this. We replay old memories, past hurts, regrets, betrayals over and over again, sometimes unconsciously. You encounter a trigger, someone stole your credit at work, someone snubbed you, you got hurt emotionally, or you watch a scene from a movie and suddenly all the toxic memories come flooding back. And bam, you're in a downward spiral. Other times we do it consciously. We wake up feeling a little maudlin, a little melancholy, and we start revisiting our worst experiences, reliving the hurt, and reminding ourselves of all the ways life seems to have abandoned us. Look, please don't get me wrong. I'm not judging here. I get caught in these exact same toxic narratives as well. I know 100% it's going to make me feel miserable, but I just can't stop myself. The pull is just too strong. It's like being swept away by a hurricane of emotion, completely helpless. Afterward, it takes hours, sometimes days, just to do damage control and deal with the mental hangover. Yet, time and again, we go hurtling right back down that chute of pain and remorse like an addiction. It's like chasing a fix of anger, hurt, self punishment. It sounds crazy, but is it possible that this feeling of pain is somehow satisfying? Are we just masochists? Michael Singer, one of my favorite spiritual teachers, has a brilliant analogy for this. He says it's like going to a restaurant, getting food poisoning, asking for a doggy bag of the contaminated food, and then taking a bite of it every single day just to remind yourself how sick it made you. Literally speaking, that is insane. No one would ever do that, but psychologically, we do it constantly. Why do we put ourselves through the absolute insanity of reliving past trauma just to project it forward and fear a bleak future? Well, I've thought long and hard about this, and here is how I see it. Everything we experience can be broken down into two categories: the things our mind can easily deal with and resolve, and the things that are gnarly and break the system. Let's call them the 90% and the 10%. Think about the 90% of things that happen in daily life. You get a bad case of food poisoning, you catch a nasty flu, you buy a lottery ticket and lose, you get a parking ticket. In all these cases, you feel miserable while it is happening, you complain, but once it's over, you move on. You don't sit on the couch 3 years later crying about why that specific virus chose you. Why? Because you had closure. Your brain identified the root cause. You made peace with it. People fall sick. It happens. There are 1 in X million chances to win the jackpot. And so the mind accepted reality and neatly filed it away. But then there's the other 10%, the failed relationships, the missed opportunities, the shattered dreams, the chronic illnesses. These are the things we are heavily invested in. We poured all our energy, emotions, identity into them, and when they collapse, our mind completely loses its ability to reconcile reality. Instead of moving on, the mind starts screaming questions. If it's a chronic illness, how could my own body betray me? If it's a failed relationship, how could they do this to me? If it's a failed dream, why is life so unfair? What did I do to deserve this? And when it turns inward into shame and guilt, it whispers, why am I like this? Why am I never good enough? And this is why the mind goes into a loop. Your brain is a problem solving machine. It successfully solved 90% of minor mishaps in your life, so it assumes it can solve the other 10%. It toils relentlessly, pacing back and forth in your head, trying to find an answer that doesn't exist. So it throws random solutions at the wall, hoping something will stick. Maybe I need a new therapy, a new relationship, a new diet, a new haircut, a new business venture. You try them, they work for a week, and then boom, you're back at square one because the mind refuses to accept that some things cannot be rationalized, and so the loop continues. If you look closely, these unresolved issues are like open wounds in your psyche, gaps in your energy field. Because they are painful, we suppress them, we bury them deep. But your psyche wants to be whole, it wants to heal. So these unresolved memories keep bubbling back to the surface. Remember Michael Singer's doggy bag analogy? You would never eat bad food twice because you learned your lesson. But in case of unresolved issues, your mind hasn't processed that past trauma yet. So it holds on to it for two reasons. First, it brings the pain back to the surface, hoping that this time you'll finally fix it. Second, it's trying to protect you. Your brain alerts you and says, look what happened last time. Commit this pain to memory so that you can avoid it in the future. But here is the tragic irony. This overcaution completely backfires. When you constantly look at life through the lens of the past pain, you start projecting that pain onto your future. The result is a future that feels eerily similar to the past. It is an insidious trap. We almost always run directly into the very thing we are trying to avoid. Why? Because the mind is trying to use the mind to change the mind. It is a closed loop. Your brain is running on old data that didn't work then and it definitely won't work now. So, what is the way out? How do we break the loop? The very first step is to become deeply conscious of what your mind is doing. If you don't wake up to the pattern, you will spend your entire life trapped in the past or projecting it onto your future. Look around. Most of humanity lives completely reactively. They are subtly traumatized by their past, so they look for any escape route they can find. They throw distractions at the pain, new relationships, parties, vacations, shopping, money, possessions. And honestly, it works for a minute. The mind is temporarily soothed, the past pain is pacified, and it feels like everything is fine. But because the root pattern was never actually dealt with, it is only a matter of time before that old energy, those same insecurities, float right back to the surface. The temporary fix stops working. Now, let's be absolutely clear, there is nothing wrong with having fun, going on vacations, or buying nice things. My point isn't about what you're doing, it's about the underlying energy driving it. If your pursuit of pleasure is actually just a desperate attempt to avoid looking inside, you are not healing, you are escaping. Once you become conscious of the loop, you can finally start working at the root of the problem. For many people, the conventional next step is therapy. And that is a massive step in the right direction because it means you have stopped running and started looking within. This is where breakthroughs happen. This is where you finally get closure on a mental loop and understand exactly why you keep repeating the same painful situations. For example, maybe you notice that the moment a relationship gets difficult, you immediately run away. Through awareness, you realize it's because you faced abandonment growing up. So, to avoid feeling that devastating pain again, your mind created a strategy: leave them before they can leave you. When you realize that, the puzzle is solved, the root cause is exposed to the light, the emotional weight of that past event can finally be processed, integrated, and released. The only way out is in. Whether you use journaling, mindfulness, shadow work, therapy, or any other practice, the core principle is the same. You have to consciously acknowledge these emotions when they arise. Instead of suppressing them, reacting to them, or distracting yourself from them, stay present with them. If there is pain, allow yourself to feel it. If there are tears, let them flow. You don't push the emotion away, but you also don't let it take over. Practice forgiveness, letting go, acceptance, compassion toward yourself and others, whatever feels needed in the moment. It may feel overwhelming at first, but if you remain anchored in awareness, the intensity will gradually begin to soften and transform. It takes time, it may take many attempts, and that is okay. Trust the process, breathe, relax through it, stay centered, and remember you are not the emotion, you are the one who is noticing it. Start small, practice with minor frustrations of everyday life. As your capacity grows, you can begin working with the deeper wounds one at a time, carrying only what you're able to bear. This is how healing begins. This is how what was once rejected, suppressed, or avoided can finally be integrated. This is how we can begin to make peace with the past, even if we never find true closure. You will never solve it by endlessly reliving the past, pretending it never happened, blaming yourself or blaming others. It takes courage to do this inner work, but on the other side of that courage is freedom. But why should we do this inner work if it's so challenging? Why face the very things we have spent years trying to avoid? Because it is the only lasting solution. In my own life, I have seen that distractions don't work. Chasing approval doesn't work. Trying to force yourself to be perfect just destroys your self worth. Now, I still slip into mental loops sometimes. I'm not able to pull myself through every single time, but the difference is that I catch myself much faster. And whenever I choose to sit with the emotion and do the inner work, the results are miraculous. Ultimately, we all have a choice to make. Do we want to stay trapped in the prison of our old narratives, or do we want to live an authentic life? The good news is it is not all or nothing. Every little bit of awareness accelerates your growth. As you make these painful energies whole, the loops lose their power over you. The memories will still be there, but the emotional pain will dissolve. You are not erasing your past, you are just taking back your power. Stop looking for external saviors to approve of you and start showing up for yourself. It takes time, but step by step, you will learn how to navigate the labyrinth of your own mind. And when you do, your mind stops being a prison and finally becomes your strongest ally. Thanks for watching.